Good afternoon. Welcome to Long Live Third Parties Podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., a third parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bichard. Greetings.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi. I can, William. Welcome to the Long Live Third Parties Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you. Friends, today, representative from the Moderate Party of Rhode Island. So thank you for attending. Let us get started by you kindly giving us an introduction to who you are.
Okay, well, William Gilbert here, chairman of the Moderate Party of the state of Rhode Island. The party's been around for about 14 years now. We were originally founded by a businessman here in the state of Rhode Island named Ken Block, who, like ourselves, felt a big disconnect between, the Republican and the Democrats and the divide between the two parties. And, since then we've been struggling as other third parties to gain some traction, but we have newsmaker status here in the state of Rhode Island, and we participated in the last 4 gubernatorial elections. So we're excited to try and keep the movement alive.
Excellent. We're started to provide an alternative to the two parties. So kindly explain what the Moderate Party is all about and its platform.
All right, we basically have, the platform that we've been trying to push is, we call it the 4 E's. One of the biggest elements is the economy. We think the government should be focusing on the economy. We should be focusing on education. And, those are 2 of our biggest pillars right now. Also the environment. And, when you start looking at some of the things that we think the government are getting involved in, I think that we can't be everything to everybody. So, the party has tried to focus on, the bricks and mortar type of policies that government affect on a daily basis, and leaving a lot of the zoning regulations and some of those issues to the local, the local jurisdictions. But we've been trying to provide that, bridge to the divide between the extremists on the left and the extremists to the right, where I think most people are a little of everything, depending on the issue. Some people are, but a lot of people are a little conservative and a little liberal. So we tried to be more issue-based in our approach.
I see. Hence the name Moderate Party, huh?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. We've been struggling that with the last 4 years because we want to be moderate and not be extremist, but at the same time, we're struggling with actually talking about changing the name now, as we don't want to feel or seem weak. We have strong views on a lot of issues. We don't want to feel, some people consider it, kind of moderate here and there. So we struggle with the name and the connotation of it. So, we're trying to work a little bit better on our branding, on, what to be a moderate actually means. We're talking about common sense, level-headed, pragmatic versus, weak, or a lot of people like to say compromise. The old saying with compromise, both parties or both sides lose when you compromise. But we have strong views on both sides, but trying to keep that, the dialogue and the communication going is, the essence of what we mean by that moderate stance, where we're not trying to, swing the pendulum one way or the other on society.
I see. So how is ballot access for alternative parties, minor parties, in
until the last election, we had ballot access. We had a spot on the ballot, but we did not maintain our 5% showing in the last election. So we lost our ballot access, but in the state of Rhode Island, it's the same amount of signatures. It's 1,000 signatures to be on the ballot, regardless. So in essence, what really happened to us in the last election with that Trump wave that ran us over was you don't have the coin toss where the Democrats and Republicans, the traditional parties, whoever is listed first on the ballot is determined by a coin toss. And when we actually had ballot access, the only benefit it added to us was you were in that coin toss. So like we were actually on the top of the ballot last year with the coin toss. When you're not on the ballot, when you don't have the coin toss, you're alphabetical after the two major parties. So it's all intents and purposes. The moderate party is still a player in the state of Rhode Island, and we're still treated as a newsmaker status. The media has no problem giving us interviews or airtime.
Well, that's good. That's good. There, so it's good that they do give you some airtime. What books have influenced philosophy and the approach of the moderate party?
That's interesting. I don't know that if you look at the collection of our members, we actually have some very progressive members that would probably cite some, Marxist readings, and we actually have, some very libertarian people, that would be, John Locke and, some of the stuff from our founding fathers, the Federalist Papers on both sides, whether pro or against the Federalist Papers. So we actually have some very deep philosophical debates. Right now, I would say about 70% more leaning towards a libertarian point of view, where the government should take a minimalist approach. And then we have about 30% of our encampment here that is, pretty progressive, and they want to see that the government be the agent of change and not just waiting for a citizen to pick up the mantle and run with it, where they believe the government, some issues are so big the government needs to get involved. Hospitals, mental health issues, drug addiction per se. So even though we're a middle of the road party, we still struggle with a lot of those issues that you would find in a lot of different readings. Some of the stuff that people are taking up today is that, that critical race theory. We haven't really discussed it too much, but it's very even hard to find what critical race theory is and where do you find a book on it. You got some very esoteric articles out there if you're on scholar.google. But so realistically, a lot of our members are, the blue collar, the working type, and it's mostly mainstream media, mainstream news, which I think is dangerous. It would be nice to get people to read a little bit more in depth on, overarching policies of their political beliefs.
So it sounds like your party is open to viewpoints and approaches.
Yes, I believe that we have those core tenets. We believe that what the party that we're trying to build is kind of that boat that's in between the two, and we recognize that nobody's going to be 100% aligned. You can't go to a Republican town committee meeting or a Democrat town committee meeting and find that everybody supports the platform 100%. So what we try and do is, what are those policies? What are those pillars, political pillars that people can agree on universally? We like to talk in the forms of universal. I don't know of anybody that's for dirty water or for polluting the environment. So we can start with that broad premise that, we need to protect our environment going forward. I don't know of anybody that's for poor education. The disconnect becomes how do you educate properly? What's the proper level of education? What's the proper balance of vo-tech education versus college preparatory education? At what point does the public stop paying for education? Is it like we do now, secondary education? Is it college education? Is it a master's degree? So some of these things, we believe if we can get people to talk about the universals, then you can kind of build off that universal platform. And that's really, I think, where the parties start dividing, whether you're libertarian, the Green Party. It's more in how the mechanics of instituting these issues. So what we try and do, we try and bring it back to those, those universal: education, environment, economy, the national defense, some of these things. But also, we're a state party right now, so we don't really dabble into the national politics too much. But, they're creeping in everywhere. That national political spectrum is it's very hard to have a political discussion even at a dinner table at home anymore.
So if somebody out there listening, some of our audience, your party, whether they live in Rhode Island or if they live elsewhere, what would be the best thing they could do to help you the most?
I think people like yourself, the alternate media, as people label it, uh, helping us get our voice out there, helping people direct them to our website, uh, that type of stuff. A little bit financially, we're kind of self-funded at this point. I don't want to go out and ask for a bunch of money when we don't have the infrastructure to maintain it. But if people can visit our website, they can share our videos, share our podcasts, and if we can get on other platforms and forums. And I think if we start making coalitions between, everybody could use more graphic artist work, everybody can use more editors. There's only so much time in the day. So I think that's why third parties are having trouble gaining traction. Is, let's face it, the Democrats and Republicans, the main two parties in the country, they got better teams. They got bigger and better teams, and they're able to divide their labor into, they have better PR people, they have better writers, and I think that people can bring their skills. We don't need money, we need the skills. People that are like-minded, that can work together on those universal pillars, and at the same time understand we might not agree on 100% of the things, but we still need to work together, because the ultimate goal is to win the game, to grow the parties, get more influential. We're excited as the moderate party, as we've been able to participate on the live televised debates for the last 4 elections, along with the other major candidates. And we're excited about that. And I know a lot of other third parties don't have that media access, but once you break into that, it becomes more critical for a party like ours to be very professional. You don't want typos in your work, so editing and that polish, bringing a better polish and a branding to your message, I think becomes critical. So we could actually use some help in those areas. I know there's a lot of professionals out there that prescribe to the third party movement. But I also think the ranked choice voting, people can start taking up that cause in their own locale and start pushing ranked choice voting, which will level the playing field.
So for the people out there who do have those skills, such as you mentioned, editing, graphic design, branding, would the best place to contact email on your website, w12gilbert@gmail.com?
That's correct. That comes right to me, or people can, we can give out my phone number also. I'm always looking to, team up with people, but it would be, that's where our biggest help would come now to polish. When somebody lands on that website, you got a chance for eyeballs. You want to catch those eyeballs, and you want them to stay there long enough to ask them some probing questions that tries to get them to think long enough so you can present them your point of view. And I think if we can pique people's curiosity, and even in the political, we talked about talking politics at the dinner table. If you can pique somebody's curiosity in a way that doesn't threaten them, where you can actually have a dialogue, I think you're starting to win. And then then you can build a team, and then you can implement a solution. But if you can't talk about it, we're never going to implement solutions in our country ever again. Can you imagine trying to build Mount Rushmore today? We're never going to be able to build a Golden Gate Bridge. We're not going to build up Mount Rushmore. We're not going to build a Washington Monument. We're not going to be able to do anything cool as a government because of the infighting and the culture of cancel and the culture of no. To do something on those large scales like an interstate takes cooperation. It takes level-headedness, and it takes real facts. And we got to face that too. There's a lot of I mentioned alternate news. I don't even want to say it's alternate anymore. Today, it's mainstream. Mainstream news is becoming the alternate news. And I think everybody should pick up the podcast like you're doing here. I think people should pick up their video cameras. I think a lot of this stuff is going to change the world. But if we could work together, we can make sure the change is for the better.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. We thank you for coming on this podcast today and sharing your views. And as we discussed, if people out there are interested in helping you, contact you.
Absolutely. And you can, like I said, my number is 401-932-8364. And I look forward to having those conversations. You know, whether, and if there's something I can reach out and help other third parties with, like I said, I look forward to, just trying to propel the political discussion into the future. It's going to happen. The other two parties are crumbling. They're cannibalizing themselves. They're becoming the circular firing squad. And I think people are waiting for the alternative. I think people are waiting for the right organization so they can jump on board. And we just need to give it to them.
Great. Awesome. All right. Have a good day and keep doing the good work.
I appreciate your time. Thanks for having us again.
Bye now.
Yeah. Bye-bye.